Hey, are you a beginner and you're curious about all this hype around Linux? Well, this video is for you then. Right now there is a very saturated amount of videos covering Linux, and they are done by people who are sysadmins or developers or people who are using Linux in their professional life. And I think that is a very different use case and a very different experience than a brand new user. So, if you're a brand new user, why would you even want to get Linux? That's your question, right? Now, do you want to become a sysadmin? Do you want to become a developer and learn how to set up things like a web server or something like this? Then yeah, you gotta learn. You want to learn Linux, right? But maybe you're just like me and you want to have freedom and control over your OS. When I speak of freedom and control, I mean that no forced updates, no telemetry or ads built into the system. But for me, and for most users, they want to have freedom and control. They don't want something that's going to require them to uh, learn how to use every single terminal command there is known to man. With Linux, some of the more user-friendly distributions, like Pop or like Mint or Ubuntu, uh, they are very user-friendly. Even things like Bazzite is very user-friendly. They have things like Fedora that have been out there, stable distributions, right? And each one allows you to choose how you're going to use that thing, right? Now, are there limitations for each one? Yeah, there is. There definitely are. They're all different flavors of different things, but you can customize everything, right? My wife got Windows 11 and she didn't want to change from Windows 10 because she knew she was going to hate it. She's some kind of freak that just knew, like, I hate saying freak, but like she like knows computers really well, and she's never been formally trained. I always tell her that she must have been born with a computer in the womb or something. So she didn't like how there's a lot of limitations on the customization that you can do with Windows 11. But in Linux, you can do anything you want. Uh, you know, customization wise, you can change your bars, you can remove your bars, you can, make them auto hide, you can change the colors of things, you could change all your icons, kind of like how you used to do in was it Windows 7? I think it was, where you could use like air, like these glass, you could glass out your whole desktop, so it looked all cool, but it hit your performance super hard. I don't know if you guys remember that. But yeah, so there's tons of freedom, tons of control, no telemetry, no Windows recall, no that's another thing. For me personally, um Windows has been gathering, like checking on us, gathering telemetry and the metrics and all those other things about us for a long time. But with recall, not only is it bad that Windows can see what you are doing if they wanted to. It's all bit locked, and supposedly they're not going to look at it. And I'm sure if a three-letter agency comes to them, they're not going to give them access to that. I'm sure they won't. But the way I see it, what if you get a malware, and malwares are going to be, mark my words, malwares are going to start targeting different vectors in the future, like Windows Recall. There's tons of screenshots. They're going to find a way to either socially engineer, which is really easy to do with most users, or they're going to find some way to finagle something to where find a vulnerability, or some of the more skilled malicious people are going to find ways to get in there and get access to your screenshots, and they won't tell you. They never do. They just collect for a while, just sit silently in the background, collecting images, sending them somewhere, until one day you get an email. Hey, does this look familiar? Well, you better send this much Bitcoin to here, or else This might end up, you know, somewhere, right? And sometimes it may be something that, like, you may not even do anything wrong. Like, but maybe you clicked on a link and it opened up a pop-up, and, it took you somewhere where you didn't want to go, right? Or maybe uh, there could be a number of things. There's things on YouTube right now that are kind of questionable with the comments, right? When you click on profiles, don't click on those right now, by the way. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but you could click on that. When you take the screenshot of it, if there's someone has somehow found their way into your computer, or has gained access to your computer in some way, or the screenshots, the so-called BitLock screenshots, then you're just giving ammo to people to blackmail you. Or if a three-letter agency, if you say the wrong thing, they can go to Windows, say, hey, you know what? We have this suspicious person. They match the description. They've been doing uh, probable things. We need to get access to their Windows recall screenshots. Guess what? That's another way that they can manage your freedom of speech and blocking you from protesting, from doing all this stuff, just by controlling your data. It's all about your data. One of my old bosses used to say that he didn't care about the system that people were using. He cared about the data. It's all about the data, because when you control the data, you control the whole market. You control the people. And that's what's happening right now. So, freedom and control, privacy and security. Malware is made mainly for Windows device because it's such a huge market share. You'd be dumb not to make malware for Windows devices if you're a scammer, right? Then second on that list might be Mac. There might be a couple Mac things or whatever. And then far down on that list is going to be Linux. And there are so many flavors of Linux that you have to, some stuff works the same, but some stuff is a little bit different too. You're going to be a hell of a lot safer on Linux than you will be on Windows. That's just how it is. Just use like a good browser like Brave, right? I'm not going to tell you why to use Brave, because some people don't like it. Some people think that's a bad thing to do. but use Brave, right? If you're not very technically literate, use Brave. Brave is amazing. It will change your life for the better in your browsing and all the BS that you might be encountering. Privacy and security. Linux is the way to go, right? Performance. Linux normally runs a lot leaner than Windows. Now, Windows has gotten a lot better, even though it has tons of crap. So, props to them, but still, it's Linux is still better, especially if you use different versions of Linux. There's certain versions of Linux that are made specifically for older hardware. A lot of Microsoft programs won't work on super old hardware, right? No background bloatware slowing things down. So like Runtime Broker and the Windows Store, and like all this nonsense, right? Pop OS, there is something a little funky that I noticed, and I'll get with that in some solutions. But as in general, you're not gonna have those problems with Linux. You're gonna have a lot more free RAM. You're gonna have a lot more free VRAM, and it works with both AMD and NVIDIA. So the cost, Linux is free. There's a lot of oversight that goes into things that are changed in Linux, and it's not like you are dealing with Microsoft where it's about the bottom line. There are some big companies behind some of the distributions, like Red Hat and Canonical and System 76. System 76 isn't as big, but they're still a company, right? But not like Canonical and Red Hat. It's not Windows, right? They're not, so far from what I've seen, they're not about taking all your data and trying to squeeze every piece of metrics out of everything you do. They want to know when you take a crap, right? It's not like that with Linux, from what I've seen. There is one distribution that I've seen so far where there is a little bit of metrics that go out, And we'll talk about that when we get to that one. But Linux is free, right? So if you have the option of buying a laptop, there's something called the Windows tax. If you buy a laptop and it has Windows Home, you're paying for that. You just don't know it. If you get it with Linux, you're paying nothing. So you're saving like they'll probably charge you the full retail normally. So they're even though you can get keys all over the place, or even from Windows for free for Windows Home. But but yeah, they're normally charging. I think it's like 100 and something bucks or something like that. But like that's 100 and something bucks that you don't need to pay. Like if you pick a laptop or a computer that can come with Linux instead. Most software as well with Linux is open source. It's open source, meaning that let's say I make something and I put it on, I make it available for everyone on Linux. Maybe someone who has a lot more experience than me come by and say, "Hey, what the hell are you doing, buddy? What's this? What's this going on here, right?" And he'll look at my code and say, "Hey, this is like that's not okay, buddy. You need to straighten your crap out." So that is what's great about open source. Everyone gets to look at it. They all get to scrutinize it. Almost like if you wrote a research paper and you had it peer reviewed, right? Same thing. And even like Linus Torvalds, he's always getting in people's shit because they're doing things that he doesn't agree with. And he's the guy, right? So it's good to have that. It's good to have people scrutinizing things. Now, so it's being open source lets you do that. Whereas if it's closed source, like I've mentioned with some of these other things, you don't know. What are you getting? There's just that thing in the back of your head saying maybe it's okay, but maybe it's not, right? It's closed source. But now the next thing, learning and career value. The thing I noticed about Linux when I started using it was as I used it, I went in with the intention of not really getting into the weeds. Just, hey man, I just want to use this. I want to have access to like Flatpaks and which are Flatpaks are like the Google Play Store, right? It's like these self-contained little applications, and they install easily. You don't even have to put a password in, and they uninstall easily. So it's very user friendly. It's as easy as using the Google Play Store. It's even easier than the iPhone App Store because you don't even put a password. But yeah, but I noticed as I kept using Linux, I started just by use of it learning more. So there are tools to like graphical tools to change your startup programs. But I learned on my own, right? Like I started using the command instead because I didn't know that graphical tool was there. So I just used the command line, and I started finding that a lot of stuff worked a lot better for me when I used the command line. It was just faster instead of looking around. Like when you go to Windows, you have to dig through this menu and dig through this menu, and finally you find, or you don't find what you're looking for, or you use the search box instead, right? You can do the search box in Linux as well. Uh, but if as you learn and you grow, you can think, hey, you know what? This isn't too bad. Like you might get a little couple times where you're like, this is a little bit different. Let me maybe if I do this, how do I do this? And the great thing is, whenever you say, how do I do this? What's one of the main things that holds people back from learning this stuff? It's dealing with the older user base of Linux. Some are nice, right? They kind of understand you, but there's a big push towards RTFM, right? Which means read the effing manual, right? And it's just a new user that barely knows how to install Firefox, um, might not be ready for, you know, um, some of the stuff that, like if he runs into a problem, right? Or if he runs into something that he wants to do, but he doesn't know how to do. So here's where you can get around that. I asked ChatGPT, I've asked DeepSeek, I've asked I have a lot of locally installed LLMs on my machine. I have a little bit more powerful machine, but probably for that kind of stuff, use the online ones. If you have your computer's not that powerful. But yeah, so ChatGPT is great for that, right? Say, hey, I am having like a hell of a time trying to like why every time I go to my hard drive do I have to uh double click on it, choose mount, and then put in a password or like a not a password, what was it? Forgot it was because I don't do it anymore. But and it'll tell you. And you can even tell it if it gives you some command line version and you don't want to do that, just say, hey, is there a graphical option to do this instead? If you're not really ready for that, just ask it and it'll tell you the graphical option. There's always almost there's always an option, I would say almost that from what I've run into. There's gonna be some stuff that isn't available, especially depending on the distro that you use. But as you learn and learn and learn, just by way of using this thing, you could find yourself in a place where like you meet people and they're like, "Hey, how do you know all this stuff? You weren't like this before." Well, I don't know. I just use Linux, right? And you just learn. You learn by osmosis, and then you start seeing other things online because you start getting interested in it, right? Like, oh wow, that app's cool. Like, you know, I could never do that on Windows, right? And then you say, oh, well, I got to do this. Okay, well, that's just one new thing that I have to learn. And you learn that one new thing, and it just grows and grows and grows. One day, you don't know. Find yourself one day saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I could be an admin. Maybe I could be, maybe programming something for me. Maybe I want to work in the cloud. You know, I know all this stuff now, so it's just logical progression, right? If that's not your bag, then that's cool. But it's just something that I noticed. You really learn to be a better computer user by using Linux. It totally deepens the understanding of how computers work. So, last one. It's gonna be a shocker, right? And maybe not so much anymore because there's been some videos now. But gaming, right? I've now done gaming on Nobara. I've done gaming on Bazite. I've done gaming on Pop. I've done gaming on Fedora. Um, haven't done it on Ubuntu yet. I haven't done it on what was the other one I wanted to? Oh, I haven't done it on Mint yet, but a lot of people are doing it on Mint, so it works there too. But every game that I've wanted to run, even some with anti-cheat like 7 Days to Die, and my brother wanted to play what was it, Hunt Showdown, and that works with anti-cheat as well. So there's some pages they actually catalog this stuff and tell you, hey, here's the anti-cheat ones that work, here's the ones that don't. Now, if you're playing something like there's some where developers just said, no, screw you, we're not doing Linux, right? We're not going to enable anti-cheat on Linux. And that those are normally for things like Fortnite. I get it. A lot of people like Fortnite. I think it's crap, but maybe, maybe I'm just disillusioned. Like maybe I just have the wrong view. Valorant, all that kind of stuff. Uh, but there are a lot of competitive shooters that still do work with anti-cheat. I think it's up to about 40 something percent, which are playable and running. So playable means uh, that they work without you doing anything, and running means they run without any impact to you at all, like performance wise. But there's maybe something you have to do, like put a command in or something like that, and that's cool too because you start to learn different things about how to use Steam, how to use launcher stuff, right? Like all these custom launcher commands and all this stuff that you never knew of how to do before. So many cool things, not just about career, but just how to use computers in general. It really helps you. And gaming is great. Like I've had no problem. So I played, Borderlands 3. I played um what did I play? I played 7 Days to Die like I mentioned. I was playing Turtle WoW. I was uh I was playing what else did I play? I had a bunch of games. Oh, the Kingmaker. I played Diablo 4. Um, like a lot of games. I can't even think of them right now. I have a lot of games, but I haven't hit one that where I couldn't play it yet. So that's good for me, right? Does that mean it's going to be like that for you? Maybe not. Look at the games that you play and look at, the is it anti-cheat yet, or look at ProtonDB and see if it works for you. Look at the distro you're using and see if that it's going to work. So yeah, so those are the reasons why you'd want to use Linux. Here's some Okay, so those were the 10 reasons why you would want to use Linux. And next week we're going to be talking about 10 reasons why you would not want to use Linux. Linux isn't for everyone. Nowadays though, it's for a lot of people though. If you're mainly doing things with school, um, if you mainly just use the browser, or all the types of things that we talked about today, even if you're just a little bit curious, I'd highly recommend you give it a shot. Because for most people, I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised how good Linux is. Anyway, thanks for hanging out today, and I will see you in the next one.